silent. Elder Counselor Tekrin looked around the table at the faces of 17 different species. All of them showed fear in their own way. The Valtorians had their feathers pressed flat against their bodies. The Xanthari's scales had turned a deep gray color. Even the usually calm Morphians were shifting nervously in their seats. The war was not going well. In fact, it was going very badly. 2 years ago, the Vikrath swarm had appeared at the edge of Coalition space. Nobody knew where they came from. Nobody knew what they wanted. They just consumed everything in their path. Entire worlds had been stripped bare. Billions of lives had been lost. And the Vikrath kept coming. The Galactic Coalition had stood strong for over 2,000 years. 17 species living together in peace. They had solved problems through trade and diplomacy. They had built great cities on 100 worlds. They had created art and music and science that reached across the stars. But the Vikrath did not care about any of that. Admiral Theron of the Valtorian fleet stood up slowly. His uniform was torn in several places. He had just come from the battle at Kelros Station. "We lost another 70 ships today," he said, his voice tired. "The Vikrath adapt to every weapon we use, every tactic we try. They learn faster than we can fight." Someone at the table made a sound of distress. Tekrin could not tell who. It did not matter. They all felt the same way. "How many ships do we have left?" asked Ambassador Kelros, the Morphian diplomat. Theron looked down at his datapad. "Less than 200 combat vessels across all 17 species. The Vikrath have thousands of bioships, maybe tens of thousands. We cannot win this war." The silence that followed was heavy. Everyone knew what would come next. Evacuation plans, choosing which worlds to save and which to abandon, watching their civilization die slowly. Tekrin felt very old. He had lived for 300 years. He had seen the Coalition grow and thrive. And now he would see it end, unless something changed. "There might be another option," Tekrin said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "It is probably nothing. Just an old story, but we have nothing else left to try." He pulled up an image on the central display. It showed lines of text in ancient galactic script. The writing was so old that most species had forgotten how to read it. Tekrin had spent years studying the old archives. "This is from 10,000 years ago," he explained. "Before the Coalition existed. Back when our species were just starting to explore the stars. The archives mention another species, one that all of our ancestors encountered at some point. They called them humans. Humans." Theron frowned. "I have heard that name before, but only in children's stories. Tales to scare young ones into behaving. Are you saying they were real?" Tekrin nodded slowly. "The records are incomplete, but every species has stories about them. The Valtorians called them the Silent Warriors. The Xanthari called them the Endurance Hunters. The Morphians called them the Never Defeated. All the stories say the same things. They came from a death world. They never gave up. They fought in ways that seemed impossible. Death worlds do not produce intelligent life," said Commander Vrex of the Kentarans. He was a military officer with many scars from battle. The gravity alone would crush any living thing. The atmosphere would be toxic. The predators would eat anything that evolved there. "That is what we all believed," Tekrin agreed. "But the ancient records are clear. Humans existed, and then about 10,000 years ago they vanished. No one knows why. Most historians think they went extinct. Or maybe they were just myths that all our species shared. So how does this help us?" asked Theron. Tekrin was about to answer when an urgent message came through. Captain Dremos of the scout ship Wandering Light appeared on the screen. The Xanthari captain looked shaken. "Council, we have a situation," Dremos said quickly. "We were mapping systems at the edge of explored space. We found something. Something impossible." "Speak clearly, Captain," Theron ordered. Dremos took a deep breath. "We found a star system completely surrounded by a defensive grid. The technology is far beyond anything we have ever seen. Our sensors cannot penetrate it. We sent a standard greeting message in ancient galactic common. We did not expect a response, but we got one." The captain pressed a button and a recording played. The voice was clear and strong. It spoke in perfect ancient galactic common, though the accent was strange. "This is Commander Jake Holland of the Human Defense Fleet. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." The meeting room erupted in noise. Everyone was talking at once. Tekrin just stared at the screen. His hands were shaking. "They are real," he whispered. "The humans are real, and they are still alive. Theron slammed his hand on the table to restore order. Captain Dramos, what is your current status? We are holding position outside their defensive perimeter. Dramos replied. They have not fired on us, but I can see weapon systems powering up. A lot of weapon systems. What are your orders? Ambassador Kelris stood up. Tell them we need to speak with them. Tell them we need their help. Tell them the galaxy is dying and they might be our only hope. Dramos nodded and cut the transmission. The council members looked at each other. For the first time in months, Tekrin saw something other than fear in their eyes. He saw hope. A small amount of hope, but it was there. 3 days later, a message came back from the human system. Commander Jake Holland agreed to meet with coalition representatives, but he made something very clear. Humans had isolated themselves for good reasons. They did not trust easily, and they would not help unless they understood exactly what they were getting into. The coalition prepared a diplomatic team. Ambassador Kelris would lead it. Lyra, a young Altherian scientist who specialized in ancient history, begged to go along. She had dreamed about humans since she was a child reading old stories. Commander Vrex was assigned as military escort. He still did not believe humans could be as dangerous as the legends claimed. Before they left, Tekrin pulled Kelris aside. The old records say that humans value honesty above all else. Tell them the truth. Do not hide how desperate we are. Do not make promises we cannot keep. And remember something important. If the legends are even partly true, humans are not like us. They think differently. They fight differently. They survive differently. Kelris nodded. Do you really think they can help us? Tekrin looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vkrath were consuming another world. Somewhere out there, coalition citizens were dying. And somewhere out there, humans were waiting, I think, he said slowly. That we are about to find out if myths can save us, or if we have found them only to watch them die alongside us. The diplomatic ship left 2 hours later. It would take them 5 days to reach the human system. 5 days to prepare their plea for help. 5 days to hope that the warriors from ancient legends were everything the stories claimed. And 5 days for humanity to decide if they wanted to fight again. The diplomatic ship passed through the human defense grid without incident. But Lyra noticed something that made her scales tingle with nervousness. The weapons tracking their ship never powered down. Even as they were welcomed into human space, the defenses stayed alert and ready. Commander Vrex noticed it too. These humans do not trust easily, he muttered. Ambassador Kelris remained calm. Would you? If you had isolated yourself for 10,000 years? As they approached the third planet from the star, Lyra gasped. Her instruments had to be wrong. They had to be. Ambassador, the readings from that planet are impossible. The gravity is twice what my species can survive. The atmospheric pressure would kill most of us. And look at the oxygen levels. That much oxygen is toxic. A Category 9 death world, Vrex said quietly. The kind that appears in military training as examples of places where nothing can live. Yet sensors show billions of life signs down there. They were guided to a space station orbiting the planet. When they stepped off their ship, Lyra immediately felt the difference. The gravity was adjusted for coalition species, but she could feel that the station normally operated at much higher gravity. The air tasted strange. The lighting was different. Commander Jake Holland was waiting for them. Lyra had studied ancient descriptions of humans. Bipedal, forward-facing eyes, no natural armor or weapons. They looked soft, weak. But when she looked into Jake Holland's eyes, she understood why her ancestors had feared these creatures. Those eyes were the eyes of a predator. They tracked every movement. They analyzed everything. And behind them was an intelligence that seemed to be running 1,000 calculations at once. Welcome to Earth's orbital station, Jake said. His voice was steady and measured. I understand you need our help with something called the Vkrath swarm. Ambassador Kelris bowed in the Morphean way. Commander Holland, thank you for meeting with us. Yes, the Vkrath are destroying our civilization. We have tried everything. We are losing. We came here because ancient records mention your people, records that speak of your strength in battle. Jake's expression did not change. Those records are 10,000 years old. What makes you think we would want to fight your war? Because, Kelris said simply, the Vkrath will not stop with us. They consume everything. Eventually, they will reach your space. We can die separately, or we can fight together. For a long moment, Jake just looked at them. Then he nodded. Follow me. There are some people you need to meet. They were taken to a meeting room where several humans waited. Jake introduced them. President Claire Morrison, who led Earth's government, General Nathan Cross, head of military operations, Dr. Sophie Bennett, who studied alien species, and several others. For the next 3 hours, the coalition team explained everything. The Vikrath attacks, the failed defenses, the billions dead. Lyra showed them tactical data. Vrex described the battles he had fought. Kelris laid out the political situation. The humans listened carefully. They asked many questions, sharp questions. Questions that showed they understood war in ways the coalition did not. When the presentation was done, President Morrison leaned back in her chair. "You are asking us to break 10,000 years of isolation, to risk our people in a war that is not ours, to trust that you will not turn on us when the fighting is done. That is a lot to ask." "I know," Kelris said, "but I am asking anyway, because we have no other choice." General Cross spoke up. "Before we make any decisions, you need to understand what you are asking for. You need to see what humans are, what we can do. Tomorrow we will show you our training facilities. You will watch our soldiers, and then you will tell us if you still want our help." Rex frowned. "Why would seeing your training change our minds?" Jake smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. "Because you will understand what it means to invite Deathworlders into your war." The next morning, they were taken to a military base on Earth's surface. Lyra had to wear a special suit to survive the gravity and atmosphere. Even with the suit, she felt like she was being crushed. Every step was hard. Breathing was difficult. The humans around her moved normally, as if the gravity that was crushing her was nothing to them. They watched human soldiers train. The soldiers ran for miles without stopping. They carried weights that would break a Kentaran's back. They practiced hand-to-hand combat that was brutal and efficient. When one soldier was injured during training, bleeding from a deep cut, he just wrapped it and kept going. "They heal fast," Dr. Bennett explained. "Redundant organs, dense bones, high pain tolerance. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day, so they adapted. They became very good at not dying." Next, they watched flight training. Human pilots flew ships through maneuvers that would kill any coalition pilot. The G-forces alone should have made them black out, but the humans stayed conscious, stayed in control, stayed focused. "How?" Lyra whispered. "How do they survive those forces?" "Practice," Jake said. "Training and biology. Human hearts pump harder than yours. Our blood carries oxygen better. Our brains can function under stress that would shut down most species. But the most frightening moment came during a tactical exercise. They watched human soldiers solve a combat problem that had no good answer. The soldiers were outnumbered, outgunned. The simulation said they should retreat. Instead, the humans attacked. They used terrain, they used surprise, they used tactics that seemed crazy, and they won. Rex watched with his mouth open. He had fought in 30 battles. He had studied military strategy his whole life, and he had never seen anything like what these humans did. They did not follow the rules. They made new rules. That evening, they met Lieutenant Ben Carter. He was young for a human, but he had kind eyes. He invited them to dinner and told them about his family. "My great-great-great-grandfather fought in the last war," Ben said quietly, "before we isolated ourselves. A lot of humans died in that war. Billions. We built a wall around our space and said never again. We would not fight other people's battles." "Then why are you considering helping us now?" Kelris asked. Ben looked down at his hands. "Because my grandfather also taught me something else. He said that good people have a responsibility to help when they can. That isolation is safe, but it is also selfish. We have been safe for 10,000 years. Maybe too safe. Maybe we forgot what it means to stand up for others." Dr. Sophie Bennett had been working with Lyra, sharing research. Lyra could not stop asking questions about human biology. It was fascinating and terrifying. "Your species has a backup for almost everything," Lyra said in wonder. 2 kidneys, 2 lungs. Your liver can regenerate. Your bones are incredibly dense. You can lose blood and keep fighting. You can survive injuries that would kill anyone else. Why? Why did evolution make you like this?" Sophie smiled sadly. "Because Earth is a nightmare world. Beautiful, but deadly. Everything on our planet evolved to survive impossible odds. We are not the strongest species on Earth. We are not the fastest. We are not the biggest. But we are the best at refusing to die. 3 days later, the human government made their decision. President Morrison called a meeting with the coalition diplomats. "We will send one fleet," she announced. 12 ships, led by Admiral Lisa Chen. She is one of our best commanders. This is a test. If your coalition fights honorably, if you treat our people with respect, if this war is truly what you claim it is, then we will consider sending more. But if we find that you have lied to us, we will leave. Are these terms acceptable? Kelrus wanted to negotiate for more ships, but he remembered what Elder Tekrin had said. Humans valued honesty. "Yes," he said. "These terms are acceptable. Thank you." Jake Holland pulled Kelrus aside before they left. "A word of advice. When you see us fight, do not be afraid. We are on your side. But humans fight in ways that will shock you. Try to remember that we are your allies." Kelrus did not understand what Jake meant. Not yet, but he would soon. They all would. Admiral Theron stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human ships arrive at the Kelros system. He had been fighting the Vikrath for 2 years. He had seen hundreds of ships destroyed. He had watched brave soldiers die, and he was tired. So very tired. The human fleet consisted of only 12 ships. 12 ships against an enemy that fielded thousands. Theron tried not to feel disappointed. The coalition needed a miracle. 12 ships were not a miracle. But as the human vessels came closer, Theron leaned forward. These ships were different. They were dark, almost black. They moved with a grace that coalition ships did not have, and they bristled with weapons he did not recognize. "Human fleet, this is Admiral Theron of the Coalition Defense Force. Welcome to Kelros. We are grateful for your assistance." A woman's face appeared on his screen. She was older, with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Admiral Theron, I am Admiral Lisa Chen. We are here to help. But I need to see how the Vikrath fight before we engage. Do you have recent battle recordings?" Theron sent her everything. Hours of battle footage. The Vikrath were a nightmare. Their bioships were alive. They could repair damage quickly. They attacked in massive swarms. They adapted to every weapon. Admiral Chen watched it all in silence. When she was done, she looked at Theron. "They are fast learners, but they follow patterns. They rely on numbers and adaptation. That gives us something to work with." Before Theron could ask what she meant, the alarms started blaring. 300 Vikrath bioships had just entered the system, the largest attack force Theron had seen in months. "All ships defensive formation Delta," Theron ordered. It was the best formation they had. It would buy time for civilians to evacuate, but it would not win the battle. Nothing won battles against the Vikrath anymore. "Admiral Chen, I recommend you fall back to the secondary line," Theron said. "This is going to get very bad very quickly." Lisa Chen smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator. "Admiral, we did not come here to hide. I am requesting permission to engage independently." Theron wanted to say no. 12 ships charging into 300 enemies was suicide. But he was tired of watching people die. If these humans wanted to throw their lives away, at least it would buy a few more minutes. "Permission granted." "Good luck, Admiral." "We do not need luck," Chen replied. "We need targets." What happened next would be talked about for generations. The human ships accelerated, not toward the defensive line. Toward the Vikrath, they moved fast. Impossibly fast. Coalition ships could not handle that kind of speed without their crews being crushed by the G-forces. Captain Ryan Foster commanded the destroyer Relentless. His ship was smaller than the Coalition vessels, but it moved like a fighter craft. He led his squadron straight into the center of the Vikrath formation. The Vikrath opened fire. Their bioweapons had destroyed countless Coalition ships, but the human ships twisted and turned. They dodged. They rolled. They moved in ways that should not be possible for vessels that size, and then the humans fired back. Theron watched his sensors in confusion. "What weapons are those?" "I am not reading energy signatures." His science officer looked pale. "Admiral, those are kinetic weapons." "Mass drivers. Simple projectiles accelerated to extreme speeds. We abandoned that technology thousands of years ago." "Why would they use primitive weapons?" Theron asked. The answer became clear immediately. The Vikrath had learned to adapt to energy weapons. They could change their bioarmor to deflect lasers and plasma, but they could not adapt to a solid chunk of metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectiles punched through Vikrath bioships like they were made of paper. In the first minute, the humans destroyed 15 Vikrath ships. In the second minute, 20 more. The Vkrath swarm turned to focus on this new threat. Lieutenant Amy Price was piloting a human fighter. She was 24 years old. She had trained her whole life for combat, and now she was finally in a real battle. Her fighter was fast and deadly. She wove through the Vkrath formation, firing short bursts from her kinetic cannons. Each burst destroyed or crippled a bioship. The Vkrath tried to target her, but she was too fast, too unpredictable. Then her ship took a hit. A Vkrath bioweapon struck her engine. Alarms screamed. Power failed. Relentless, this is Price, I am hit. Engine is gone. Drifting toward a Vkrath command vessel. Captain Foster's voice came back immediately. Amy, eject. We will pick you up. Amy looked at her trajectory. She was heading straight for one of the largest Vkrath ships. Her missiles were still armed. She had maybe 5 seconds before she drifted past. Negative, Captain. I have a better idea. She aimed her dead fighter at the Vkrath command vessel, used her maneuvering thrusters to line up, armed all her missiles, and waited until the last possible microsecond. See you on the other side, she whispered. Then she fired everything and ejected. Her fighter, with all its missiles armed, slammed into the Vkrath command ship at high speed. The explosion was massive. The command ship died instantly. 3 more Vkrath vessels caught in the blast were destroyed. Another 4 were crippled. A human rescue craft scooped up Amy's escape pod 30 seconds later. On Admiral Theron's bridge, every Coalition officer was staring at the screens in shock. The humans were not just fighting the Vkrath. They were winning. Commander Jake Holland led a boarding team onto a Vkrath vessel. The Vkrath had never worried about boarding actions before. No Coalition species could survive their bioatmospheres. The radiation alone would kill most species in minutes. But human Marines wore sealed armor. They moved through the toxic environment like it was nothing. The Vkrath drones attacked in waves. The humans met them with precise gunfire and brutal hand-to-hand combat when the fighting got close. One human soldier took 3 hits that should have killed him. He stumbled, fell to one knee, then stood back up and kept fighting. His armor's medical system had already injected him with emergency drugs. His body was already starting to heal. Jake's team fought their way to the ship's core and planted explosives. They were off the ship in under 10 minutes. The explosion took out the entire vessel. The battle lasted 2 hours. When it was over, 43 Coalition ships had been destroyed. The humans had lost 0 ships, though 11 were damaged. Of the 300 Vkrath vessels, less than 50 escaped. The rest were destroyed or left drifting and dead in space. Admiral Theron's hands were shaking. In 2 years of fighting, the Coalition had never won a battle against the Vkrath. Never. And these humans had just destroyed a massive Vkrath force like it was nothing. He opened a channel to Admiral Chen. How did you do that? Lisa Chen looked tired. Good people had fought hard today, but she also looked satisfied. Admiral, my species spent millions of years learning to survive on a world that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to hunt, to fight, to never give up. The Vkrath are dangerous, but compared to Earth, they are just another predator. And humans are very good at dealing with predators. She paused, then added quietly, we remember what it means to fight for survival. Every human remembers. It is in our bones, in our blood. The Vkrath picked a fight with the wrong species. Theron looked out at the debris field, at the destroyed Vkrath ships, at the 12 human vessels that had changed everything. The ancient legends were true. All of them, and the galaxy would never be the same. The news spread across Coalition space faster than any ship could travel. Humans were real. Humans were fighting alongside the Coalition, and humans were winning. For 2 years, every Coalition citizen had lived with fear. Fear that the Vkrath would reach their world. Fear that their civilization would end. Fear that their children would never grow up. Now, for the first time, they felt something else. Hope. The Council of Species met in emergency session. Elder Counselor Tekrin stood before them, his feathers bright with excitement. The humans have proven themselves. We must ask them to fully join our war effort. The vote was unanimous. Ambassador Kelris was sent back to Earth with a formal request, but on Earth the debate was fierce. President Claire Morrison stood before the Global Assembly, humanity's governing body. Thousands of representatives from every nation on Earth filled the chamber. Senator Gordon Phillips led the opposition. He was an old man who remembered the stories his grandmother had told him. Stories of the last war, stories of billions dead, We isolated ourselves for a reason, he said, his voice carrying across the chamber. Our ancestors paid in blood to keep us safe. Now you want to throw that away? For species we do not know? For a war that is not ours? Many representatives nodded. The isolationist faction was strong. They had kept humanity safe for 10,000 years, but Dr. Sophie Bennett stood up. Senator Phillips speaks of safety, but is isolation really safety? Or is it just delayed danger? The Vikrath consume everything. Eventually they will reach our space. We can face them alone after they have grown even stronger, or we can face them now with allies. Colonel Marcus Webb, a decorated veteran, added his voice. I have fought in simulations against the Vikrath. I have studied their tactics. They are a hive mind. They learn. They adapt. If we wait until they reach our borders, we will be facing an enemy that has learned from fighting the entire coalition. An enemy that knows our weaknesses before we even engage. The debate continued for hours. Then the news came through. The Vikrath had attacked a coalition medical station. The station was clearly marked. It had no weapons. It was treating injured civilians. The Vikrath attacked anyway. 3 million people died, including hundreds of thousands of children. President Morrison played the footage for the assembly. It was horrible. The bioship swarming the station, the desperate evacuation attempts, the screams, the silence that came after. The chamber was silent when the footage ended. Commander Jake Holland had returned to Earth for the debate. He stood now and asked to speak. President Morrison nodded. Jake walked to the center of the chamber. He looked tired. He had been in space for weeks fighting alongside the coalition. I know many of you are afraid, he said quietly. I am afraid too. War is terrible. People die. Families are broken. Our ancestors knew this. They built walls around our space to keep us safe. He paused. But our ancestors also believed in something else. They believed that good people have a responsibility to help when they can. They believed that freedom means nothing if we only use it to hide. They believed that humanity was meant to be better than our fears. Jake pointed to the screen that had shown the destroyed medical station. Those children did not deserve to die. The Vikrath do not care about mercy. They do not care about honor. They only care about consuming. If we do nothing, we are saying that those lives do not matter. That safety is more important than doing what is right. He looked around the chamber. I have fought beside coalition soldiers. I have seen them sacrifice themselves to save others. I have seen species that are nothing like us show courage that would make any human proud. They are not asking us to die for them. They are asking us to stand with them, to fight together against something that threatens all of us. His voice grew stronger. Our ancestors built walls, but they also taught us that some things are worth fighting for, that some threats are too great to ignore, that humanity is at its best when we protect those who cannot protect themselves. I say we honor their memory by being the people they hoped we would become. I say we fight. The vote was close. Very close, but it passed. Humanity would commit its full military strength to the war. When the human armada arrived in coalition space, it took everyone's breath away. 200 capital ships, 500 support vessels, thousands of fighters. It was the largest human fleet assembled in 10,000 years, but the ships were not the most important thing humanity brought. They brought knowledge. General Nathan Cross established training centers on coalition worlds. Coalition soldiers learned human tactics. They learned about adaptive thinking, about making decisions quickly under pressure, about treating small units as independent forces that could act without waiting for orders. It was hard for coalition officers at first. They were used to clear command structures, detailed battle plans, doing exactly what they were told. The human way was chaotic. It looked like disorder, but it worked. In simulation after simulation, mixed human coalition forces defeated pure coalition forces. The coalition soldiers learned to think like humans, to improvise, to see opportunities instead of just following rules. Dr. Victor Hayes worked with Lyra and other coalition scientists. Together they created new weapons. Hybrid technology that combined coalition energy efficiency with human kinetic weapons, shields that could adapt quickly, engines that were both fast and powerful. Lyra was amazed by how humans approached problems. You try things that should not work, she told Victor one day. Victor laughed. Should not work and does not work are different things. We learned a long time ago that the universe does not care about should. It only cares about what actually happens, so we test everything. Most ideas fail, but the ones that succeed, they change everything. The combined fleet began offensive operations. For 2 years, the coalition had been losing ground. Now they were taking it back. Captain Ryan Foster commanded a mixed squadron, half human ships, half Xanthari vessels. His counterpart was Captain Silex, a Xanthari officer who had lost his entire family to the Vikrath. At first, they did not work well together. Silex wanted to plan everything carefully. Ryan wanted to react to what was happening. They argued constantly. Then they fought their first battle together. Ryan's human ships would charge in fast and aggressive. The Vikrath would focus on them. Then Silex's Xanthari ships would strike from a different angle, their heavy shields protecting them as they delivered devastating fire. It was beautiful, deadly, effective. They destroyed 3 Vikrath positions in 1 week. After the third battle, Silex invited Ryan to dinner. They ate together and talked about their families, about what they were fighting for. By the end of the meal, they were friends. Battle after battle, the tide turned. Worlds that had been conquered were liberated. Vikrath forces were pushed back. The coalition was winning, but the Vikrath were learning too. Intelligence reports showed that the Vikrath were studying captured human and coalition technology. Their bioships were evolving, adapting, becoming harder to kill, and something else was happening. The Vikrath attacks were becoming more coordinated, more strategic, as if a greater intelligence was directing them. Admiral Lisa Chen studied the reports with growing concern. They have a central intelligence, she told her staff. A hive queen. She has been learning from every battle, getting smarter, understanding us better. Jake Holland looked at the latest intelligence. The Vikrath were gathering their forces, pulling back from smaller targets, concentrating everything in one location. Where are they going? He asked. The intelligence officer's face went pale. Valtoria Prime, the coalition capital. Every Vikrath ship, every bioweapon, everything they have. They are going to try to end this war in one massive attack. Admiral Chen stood up slowly. Then that is where we will meet them. Send word to all ships, all forces, everything we have. We are going to Valtoria Prime. She looked around at her officers, human and coalition alike. This is it. The final battle. We win there or we lose everything. Valtoria Prime was beautiful. White towers reached toward the sky. Gardens filled with plants from 100 worlds. Art and culture from 17 species. It was the heart of the coalition. The symbol of everything they had built together. And now it was about to become a battlefield. The defense fleet gathered in orbit. 400 coalition ships, 200 human vessels, against over 1,000 Vikrath bioships. The largest Vikrath force ever seen. On the surface, Elder Counselor Tekrin addressed the people of Valtoria. His voice was broadcast across every screen in the city. My friends, the enemy comes, but we are not alone. Species from across the coalition stand with us, and humans, the warriors from ancient legend, fight by our side. Whatever happens today, we face it together. Admiral Lisa Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, humanity's largest warship. It was a massive vessel, built in secret over the last few months. Every weapon humanity could design, every defense system they had. It was a dreadnought in the old sense of the word. A ship built to face impossible odds. Elder Tekrin's message ended with thanks to the humans. Thanks for standing with the coalition, even if this would be their final battle. Lisa Chen opened a channel to all ships, human and coalition alike. Elder Tekrin thanks us for standing with them. But he should know something. Humans do not know how to quit. We do not know how to give up. Today we are going to teach the Vikrath what that means. Today we show them why you do not threaten humanity's friends. A cheer went up across the fleet. On coalition ships, crews that had faced fear for 2 years now felt something else. Determination, courage, hope. The Vikrath arrived like a dark cloud. Over 1,000 bioships moving in perfect coordination. At the center of their formation was something new. A bio-dreadnought. Massive beyond anything they had seen before. Sensors showed it was heavily shielded and bristling with weapons. That is where the Hive Queen is, Admiral Chen said quietly. That ship is her. We kill that, we kill the entire swarm. How do we reach it? Admiral Theron asked. It is in the center of their formation. Surrounded by hundreds of bioships, Lisa Chen smiled grimly. We go through them. The battle began. The V-Krath had learned from previous fights. Their bioships moved differently now. They used human-style tactics. They adapted quickly to weapons. This was not going to be like the battle at Kelros. Coalition ships fell. Human ships burned. The V-Krath were using captured technology, kinetic weapons like the humans used, energy shields like the Coalition had. They had become more dangerous than ever. Lieutenant Ben Carter commanded a destroyer on the left flank. He saw a Coalition carrier taking heavy fire. The carrier was full of civilians trying to evacuate. If it died, thousands would die with it. Ben did not hesitate. He turned his ship and put it between the carrier and the V-Krath. His shields held for almost a minute, long enough for the carrier to escape. Then his ship began to break apart. All hands abandon ship, Ben ordered calmly. It has been an honor serving with you. As his crew evacuated, Ben aimed his dying ship at the closest V-Krath vessel, used the last of his engine power to accelerate, and rammed the bioship at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. Captain Ryan Foster's ship was heavily damaged. Weapons were offline. Engines failing, but he could still maneuver. Barely. "Captain, we should retreat," his first officer said. Ryan looked at the battle display. Captain Silex's Zenthari ship was surrounded, taking fire from all sides. His friend was going to die. "No," Ryan said. "We do not leave friends behind." He used what was left of his engines to ram through the V-Krath formation. His ship was falling apart around him, but he reached Silex's vessel, used his own ship as a shield. Bought enough time for Silex to repair his engines and escape. Ryan's ship broke apart moments later, but the escape pods got away safely. On the ground, V-Krath forces had broken through the orbital defenses. They landed in the city, started attacking civilians. Commander Jake Holland led a mixed force of human and Coalition soldiers. They met the V-Krath in the streets. Block by block, building by building, they fought, never retreating, never surrendering, turning every corner into a fortress, every building into a strong point. The V-Krath drones were designed for overwhelming attacks, but in the tight streets their numbers meant less. Human soldiers fought with brutal efficiency. Coalition soldiers followed their lead. Together, they held the line. In space, Admiral Chen realized what had to be done. The only way to win was to kill the Hive Queen. The only way to reach her was to go straight through the V-Krath fleet. And only one ship was strong enough to try, the Indomitable. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We need an opening to the bio-dreadnought. I need volunteers." Lieutenant Amy Price was listening. She had survived the battle at Kelros, had become a hero. Now she was commanding a fighter squadron. "Admiral, this is Price. My squadron will make you an opening." She knew it was a suicide mission. Her pilots knew it too, but they did not hesitate. 20 fighters against hundreds of bioships, they flew like demons, weaving through the V-Krath formation, drawing fire, creating chaos. One by one, the fighters were destroyed, but they created an opening, a narrow path through the swarm. Amy's fighter was the last one left. She was hit badly, ship falling apart, but she could see the Indomitable starting its attack run. She could see the opening starting to close. "Not today," she whispered. She pushed her dying fighter into the gap, used her body and her ship to keep the opening clear for just a few more seconds. The Indomitable roared past. Amy ejected at the last possible moment. The explosion of her fighter took out 3 more bioships. Lisa Chen guided the Indomitable through hell. Every weapon on her ship firing, every shield at maximum. The dreadnought took massive damage, but it kept going, closer and closer to the bio-dreadnought. On her bridge, crew members worked their stations even as systems failed around them. They knew they were not going home, but they also knew they would save billions of lives. Lisa opened one final transmission. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. It has been the greatest honor of my life to fight beside you. Tell Earth we did our duty. Tell the Coalition we stand with them always." The Indomitable reached the bio-dreadnought. Every remaining weapon fired at point-blank range, missiles, kinetic rounds, energy weapons, everything. And then Lisa Chen gave the final order. Overload the reactor. Maximum yield. The Indomitable's reactor detonated inside the bio-dreadnought. The explosion was visible from the surface. Both ships died in fire and fury. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the V-Krath bioships began to drift. Without their Hive Queen, they had no coordination. no intelligence. They were just animals now, confused and lost. The Coalition and human forces pursued, made sure every Vikrath ship was destroyed or driven away. The battle was over. The war was won, but the cost had been terrible. Admiral Chen was dead. Lieutenant Carter was dead. Thousands of humans and Coalition soldiers were dead. Ships floated dead in space. Cities were damaged. Families were broken. 1 year later, a memorial was built on Valtoria Prime. It showed a human and a Valtorian standing side by side. At the base were the names of everyone who had died in the war. Human and Coalition alike. Jake Holland, now an admiral, stood at the memorial with Ambassador Kelris. They had become close friends over the past year. "Your people saved us," Kelris said quietly. Jake shook his head.
We saved each other.
"Your people fought just as hard. Lieutenant Carter sacrificed himself to save Coalition civilians, but I saw Xanthari soldiers do the same thing for human ships. Captain Silex pulled Ryan Foster from his wreckage at great risk to himself. This was not humans saving the Coalition. This was all of us standing together." Dr. Sophie Bennett and Lyra had become research partners. Their work on human Coalition cooperation was now required reading at every military academy. They were teaching the next generation how to work together. Captain Ryan Foster, recovered from his injuries, now commanded a ship with a mixed crew. Half human, half Coalition. They worked together seamlessly. The barriers between species were falling. Lieutenant Amy Price trained new pilots. Human and Coalition students learned from her together. She taught them tactics, but more importantly, she taught them courage. Taught them that sacrifice for others was the highest honor. Humanity was now a full member of the Galactic Coalition. Human ships patrolled alongside Coalition vessels. Human families were moving to Coalition worlds. Coalition families were visiting Earth wearing special suits but marveling at the deadly beauty of the Death World. The species that had been only ancient rumors were now the Coalition's strongest defenders. And across the galaxy a new legend spread. A legend about humans who fought for what was right, who never gave up, who stood by their friends no matter the cost. Elder Counselor Tekrin gave his final speech before retirement. He stood before the council, old and tired but happy. "We thought humans were myths," he said. "Stories to scare children. Legends from the ancient past. We were wrong. They are not myths. They are not legends. They are our friends, our allies, our brothers and sisters. They are hope. And as long as humans stand with us, the Coalition will never fall." The galaxy had changed. The Vikrath were gone. New threats would come eventually. But the Coalition was stronger now. Not just because of human weapons or human tactics,